Right, let's get into some of those headlines and other issues. I'm joined now by Sky News senior political reporter Trudy McIntosh and our Sydney senior reporter Carolyn Marcus. Welcome to you both. I want to start with nuclear power. Another day it was a feature of Question Time, Trudy. The coalition saying Labor's turning us into an international embarrassment. That's after we declined that invitation from our AUKUS partners. Richard Marles trying to play down the story today that the AUKUS submarine deal, he says, is completely separate from discussions about a nuclear industry. I think Labor's caught out here. The moment they made the decision in opposition to back AUKUS and have nuclear power at sea, I think it's really impacted their ability to argue against nuclear on land. I think they're wedged. What do you think?
Well, don't hold your breath though, Peter. They're not going to change their mind on this position. You heard it over and over from Richard Marles today. We don't have a civil nuclear industry, and that's the reason why that they didn't sign up to that international agreement. This is now a very clear electoral battleground heading into that next campaign. Labor doesn't support nuclear energy at all, pointing to the costs they believe, the lack of that civil industry here. The coalition all for it, and we're waiting on the rest of those details. I also thought the price argument from Richard Marles today, it's one of those ones I always scratch my head at. He's saying, under Peter Dutton, the bills would be up by more than $1,000, whatever the figure was today. They promised to lower power bills, though, so you've always got to be so sceptical when they just pull these dollar figures, it seems, out of the air.
Well, Trudy, when has Labor ever hated to spend taxpayers' money?
I know, but they don't ideologically support nuclear power, and I don't know if all the will in the world from the coalition is going to change that position.
No, I think the problem, Carolyn Marcus, is it's a factional issue for Labor. It's always been an article of faith of the Labor factional left. They're obviously in the ascendancy. The Prime Minister's of the left faction. Most of his power base in the Parliament's the left faction. And it's also underpinned in their Labor Party convention platform. So I agree with Trudy, it's off the table. But I think when punters go to vote and one side's promising them cheaper power, you know, if both sides are headed to net zero, but one says it's via renewables that your power bills are going to go up, the other side says it's nuclear power, the rest of the world's doing it, we're crazy if we don't. I think that's the decision that'll be before the people, don't you think, Caroline?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, cost of living is going to be the number one issue at the polls. I don't think anyone will dispute that. And our household energy bills are such a huge part of that. And we've seen so many holes poked through the arguments that the government has raised against nuclear. And as you point out, Peter, this incredible paradox between signing up to this nuclear deal, which they continue to spruik, or, you know, continuing this nuclear deal that was first raised by the coalition, and yet being so stubbornly pig-headed on the idea of lifting the moratorium on nuclear, having a civil nuclear industry. As you say, why is it okay to have it at sea? No problem at all here. Nuclear good at sea and in our submarines, but when it comes to helping us reach even the emissions targets that they're setting, and in the long term bringing down power bills and being a reliable energy source that now so many countries around the world have embraced. Suddenly, no, nuclear bad, three-headed fish, all the other conspiracies that they can throw up. I mean, it's so hypocritical. And I think what's happened with this deal that they have refused to sign on to, it really highlights that. And this argument that it's because we don't have a civil industry as to why we can't sign up to the deal, that doesn't wash either, because there are plenty of other countries that have signed up to it that don't have a civil industry either. So I dare say Trudy's right. I don't think they're going to change their position on this, and refusing to sign up to the statement just proves that.
Yeah, and I might add, yes, Lucas Heights is small, but we've been in the game there for 70 years. And in terms of sustainment, which is the fancy word for servicing the submarines, which will go on for probably 30 to 40 years, we will need an industry in Australia of nuclear experts to sustain the submarines. So I think the Deputy Prime Minister, actually Prime Minister's caught out in all of that.